Hi, this is Johnny Brace from That's Ace, the play, which is coming to Edinburgh Fringe, and you are listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast, the show where fans, collectors, and special guests come together to celebrate over 60 years of Doctor Who history. If you love rare collectibles, behind-the-scenes stories, books, comics, toys, memorabilia, and everything in between, you found your TARDIS. Be sure to subscribe and keep listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast.
Larry, it's Fraser, and you use they all say who is Doctor Who? Where is he from?
What does he do? They wonder who is Doctor Who? So I ask you, who's Doctor Who?
Welcome back to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast, the podcast that explores the theatrical world of Doctor Who, including Doctor Who collecting, Doctor Who merchandise, cosplaying, and much, much more. Brought to you in part by Forbidden Planet and Bags Unlimited Incorporated. I am Larry Van Mersbergen, your host, and I've been a Doctor Who collector since 1981, bringing me 45 years of practical experience. Welcome to the 101st episode of our show. It's been great fun to have this many episodes air on this platform or whatever platform you're listening on, and thank you for your support. Just in case you don't know or you're new to the podcast, I opened up one of the first Doctor Who stores in Chicago, served the Doctor Who fans exclusively. We called it Bundles from Britain back in 1984, and it celebrated its 40th anniversary back in 2024. We're mentioned in a book called Red, White, and Who, the story of Doctor Who in America, sadly out of print at this time. So we're hoping that you will contact ATB Publishing, that's Arthur T. Bloomberg, and let them know you want to see that book back in print, or have them sell it back to the authors so that another publisher can have a crack at it. All right. We are part of the Direction Point Doctor Who Podcast Network. You can find some more great podcasts like ours at directionpoint.org. If you are a Doctor Who podcaster, join today and join the ranks of great shows such as Time Streams, Police Box in a Junkyard, the Doctor Who Target Book Club podcast, Traveling the Vortex, Doctor Who Literature, and Time Ram, plus many more. Speaking of links, of course, all collectors out there need to have these links handy on their computer. On mine, they're at the top bar of my Google Chrome. Timelash.com, and under that heading, the TARDIS Library. Sign up for a free account and start keeping track of your Doctor Who media items for free. So there you go. If you need to find something else, if you need to look up something when it was done or what its value might be, although that might not be the best place to do it, DoctorWhoToybox.co.uk, the Howe's Transcendental Toy Box, is a great tool for helping you find what you need in your Doctor Who collection. Now, if you're looking for great Doctor Who items at great prices, look no further. DoctorWhoStore.com, that's Alien Entertainment. They have what you need and are always running great specials. If you live in the Chicago area or the western suburbs, you can select free pickup from the store. A great way to save on those shipping costs. So while you're there, of course, browse their incredible selection of Doctor Who and other media items. The Lombard location is open Wednesday through Saturday. I do not have their hours for Logan Square, but you can visit alienentertainment.com for that information. Don't forget, great items can also be had at Forbidden Planet, one of our sponsors, and you do that by going to our website, DoctorWhoCollectors.com, and select merchandise links. And don't forget our own eBay store. We've got lots of Doctor Who items for sale where all the proceeds benefit the podcast. We try to operate as a legitimate business. Finally, make sure that you support our good friends at Who North America, and they are at whona.com. And, of course, our friends in London, the Who Shop out there. So thank you, Alex and Owen and all the listeners there for keeping the show on in the shop. I appreciate that a lot. And you can find them at thewhoshop.com. You don't need those W's anymore. It shows you how old I am. www.this.com. You know, that was how we did it back then. In addition to all the podcasts on our website, all of them, all 101 episodes, we have the complete guide to Doctor Who classic hardcover books. Those are the books published between 1964 and 1988 from basically various publishers like White Lion and Wingate and W.H. Allen, Longbow, and Frederick Muller, and Aeonian Emerin, and Belson Doubleday. So there you go. Check that out. If you're looking for a guide to help you price your collectibles or to see if a good price is to be had. What is going on? Okay, my next appearance will be at Doctoberfest, set for Saturday, October 17th at Who North America in Canby, Indiana. Make it a weekend. Come down Friday. Spend some time shopping at the shop on Friday. Get a local hotel. Join us for breakfast in the morning, and then spend an entire festival day with us at Who North America. I am a headline guest. I will be doing the history of Doctor Who in comic form from 1964 to as close to the present day as I can get, and how it evolved from a weekly comic in a newspaper to Doctor Who weekly and monthly to the comic series, the various comic book series. So it might be an interesting talk. I will have, of course, artifacts from the collection. If you would like to have me present at your convention, that would be great. I would love to have you. You can just contact me at drwhocollectorspodcast@gmail.com. Now, before I move too far ahead, we've got some announcements coming out of Chicago TARDIS. Now, Chicago TARDIS is Thanksgiving weekend. It's always the day after Thanksgiving till Sunday at the Westin Hotel in Lombard. We have Jodie Whittaker, the 13th Doctor. We've got Jeffrey Beavers, the Master from The Keeper of Traken, and also his daughter, Daisy Ashford, who plays Liz Shaw for Big Finish. We'll also have Jason Haig-Ellery, the CEO, Big Honcho at Big Finish. So more guest announcements coming soon. So to keep tuned in to Chicago TARDIS on your various social media platforms, as well as chicagotardis.com. We love talking to collectors. If you want to share your story here, you want to be on the show and talk about your love for Doctor Who collecting, or is it a cosplaying? Are you building a TARDIS? Are you building a console room? Are you putting on a show? Are you trying to keep Doctor Who alive during these wilderness years? Contact me at drwhocollectorspodcast@gmail.com. Let's get you on the show. On today's show, I am talking with Jonathon Brace. He is the director, writer, producer of a show called That's Ace. And right now it's appearing in the UK. And one of the shows I heard was sold out. So you can hear more about that just a little bit later on in the program. Video interviews. All the video interviews I do on Zoom are now going to be available on our YouTube page. We have given up on our Patreon account for the most part. We got hacked into it and we lost over $700 in the process. So unfortunately, we have not made that back, but you can help us reach to a monetized level on YouTube. Just subscribe to us on YouTube. We're hoping to reach the relevant number of subscribers so that we can start pulling in some revenue from there. All the revenue pays for the show. Right now, we've got our Tim Traylor interview and our Peter Purvis interview, which has only been on Patreon for now, but you can see it on YouTube. So there you go. So check us out. Just go to YouTube, search for Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. You'll see our logo. It should be pretty easy to find. If you'd like to support us in the old way, we're still we're still able to be supported on Podbean because we are a Podbean podcast, drwhocollectors.podbean.com. Just click the Become a Patron and support us at any level. So there you go. Our theme song is Who's Doctor Who, composed by Barry Mason and Les Reed, performed by Fraser Hines, used with permission. You can hear this podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, starting with Apple Podcasts, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Podbean, and many, many more. We are also a Direction Point Network podcast at directionpoint.org. All right, we're going to take a quick break here and hear from some of our other Direction Point podcasters. And we'll, of course, have a little bit of my time. I've got some things to talk about. And, of course, our main story. And we always finish our shows with the most outrageous offer. Stay tuned.
Traveling the Vortex.
Are you ready to embark on an epic journey through time and space? Join the thousands of Whovians around the world who've discovered Traveling the Vortex, the ultimate Doctor Who podcast for die-hard fans and curious newcomers alike.
Every week, we dive deep into the Whoniverse, discussing the episodes, theories, and hidden gems. We dissect the Doctor's adventures, share behind-the-scenes stories, and explore the legacy of this iconic show.
Traveling the Vortex brings fans together, fostering a global community of Whovians. Whether you're a fan of classic or new Who, there's something for everyone.
Join us on this incredible journey as we unravel the mysteries of time and space.
Don't miss out. Subscribe to Traveling the Vortex today on your favorite podcast platform.
Traveling the Vortex, your ticket to adventure awaits.
Traveling the Vortex is a proud member of the Direction Point Podcast Network. You're listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. Keep collecting.
Hi, I'm Juliet.
And I'm Nathan.
Experience Doctor Who from the very beginning through a classic fan's eyes.
And through the eyes of a new Who fan.
Reminisce and relive those classic moments with Nathan as he offers fun insight.
Or experience them for the first time with Juliet as she dwells on social issues, history, fashion, and the size of a flashlight.
We're the Time Streams podcast.
Find us on Spotify, Stitcher, or Apple Podcasts. You're listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. Keep collecting.
It's my time.
Hi, and welcome to My Time. It's been great to hear from all of you. We've heard a lot from you on our TikTok channel. Check us out on TikTok. Just go there and look up Doctor Who Collectors Podcast, and you'll find us pretty fast. I do complete tours of my Who collecting room and parts of the collection. Right now we're working on items that were released in the month of July from 1965 to the present day. So you can check that out, as well as the other shows that we put up on there. You can also check out, please go to our YouTube channel at, Doctor Who Collectors Podcast on YouTube. Please subscribe, check out our content there. And, of course, what am I going to say about ring that bell for notifications? Yeah. So be sure to do that so that we can we're trying to reach a level that we can begin monetizing our content so we can start producing money for our show. We have, let me tell you what happened at Patreon. So one day I'm monitoring our email and I get a notice from Patreon that someone had signed up on Patreon for $700. I said, wow, that's great to have a patron. So immediately I try to log on to see what's going on and I get locked out. I get another email saying your account has been suspended due to fraudulent behavior. And I said, okay, so I go through those many, many steps to recover my account. I get in there and there's no $700. Now, it's possible that the $700 was a money laundering type of thing. Somebody was trying to steal a credit card or whatnot, but I thought, interesting. So I couldn't figure out what happened. Actually, I don't know if it was a real person or not, but they ended up refunding that person's money, which is probably the best ending, but we lost $700 on that deal. I was not happy. We had a very, very long and unguessable password, but unfortunately, sometimes you get the right hacker, they can do anything. So we are giving up on our creator account. Our patron account will still be there because we patronize a lot of podcasts, including the Peter Purvis podcast, which I also try to mention on this show. And Peter and I have been friends for several years, and Peter is 87 this year. So he, of course, traveled with the first Doctor from the Chase all the way through the Savages. And what a great guy. Just had an incredible career of presenting and, Blue Peter, the Westminster Dog Show. Now back, of course, doing Doctor Who interviews, Doctor Who signings and appearances at UK conventions. So we want to give him the best we can. We are in, officially, the Wilderness Years 2.0. And for some of you, you don't know what that means because you're not old enough to remember 1985. And if you are, then you know what I'm talking about. But in 1985, the show went on hiatus for 18 months while they figured things out. And when they came back, they gave us a 14-episode season, which is the lowest in the history of Doctor Who. It was also the final season for Colin Baker. Colin Baker was terminated from the program, and it's a shame because what a great guy. He only acted the way he was told to act by his directors. I thought he did the role amazingly, and also he got to do the role he wanted to do through Big Finish. So I would say you got the best of him all the way through. Then, of course, Sylvester McCoy comes in, and you could not save it. The show simply just was not renewed. It wasn't canceled. It wasn't, deleted. It wasn't anything like that. It just didn't happen anymore. From 1989, then we went through what we now call the wilderness years of new adventure books, the pinball machine, the chess set, and a few things came out during the 90s. Then we got a little excited in 1996 when Paul McGann appeared as the Doctor in a movie. I watched that movie when it aired in 1996. I videotaped it, so I have the original recording. I have the new Blu-ray release. It's an exciting thing. I love it. It didn't go anywhere. It was kind of just a little hiccup in the wilderness years. A couple of years later, we got Big Finish with the Sirens of Time, and that helped quite a bit. We also had BBV during that time. We had real-time pictures. We had a lot to keep us occupied in the not so much not really the internet world yet. A little bit of that, but not so much. And of course, in 2005, we all know what happened. Christopher Eccleston steps out of the TARDIS, and we have Doctor Who from 2005 to 2026. So 26, 21 years, I guess. So it's not canceled. It's not deleted. We are on hiatus once again. So we're just hoping to see that it will go out to somebody. I guess Stephen Moffat, in his interview with Peter Purves, and I highly recommend you listen to that interview, says that there are people lining up to get the show. So I believe him. I have no reason not to believe him. I don't think he would lie to Peter on the program. It's true. It's very much in the interview that Stephen Moffat has a lot of respect for Peter Purves. I have a lot of respect for Peter Purves. Great guy. So don't give up. It'll be back. And in the meantime, though, you've got shows like mine or shows like Time Streams or Police Box in a Junkyard. Tune into a Doctor Who podcast, or some people are doing their own video projects. I've participated in a couple myself. I've been in a couple documentaries. I'm actually in, I was supposed to be in the Doctor on Display one for the USA tour, but my material was all cut. And some of my comments appear in the bonus video section. So it's like bonus video. Yay. So when they premiered it at Gallifrey 1, I was reported back that I'm not in the show. I'm not in the movie. I'm like, what? I had a lot to say. I mean, I had a very different angle from the Chicago thing, which we're going to do a show about. We're going to have some folks on here. Hopefully we'll get Nick Seidler back, and maybe Stephen Warren Hill and Elwithis Pegon and Russell McGee, and we'll talk about what did not get into the movie. Because, I don't blame, I am very good friends with Keith Barnfather, the head of Real Time Pictures. He had someone else do the editing, so it's not, I don't lay that at his feet at all. He's a great guy. And if you're listening, you're a brother. So it's not that. But we will hopefully get that information to you soon. We're also going to lock in our interview with Lisa Bowerman this year. She keeps coming back to me. She's a busy woman, and I don't, it's been 2 years since she agreed to be on the show, but she's been working all that time, and she's a very busy person, playing Bernice Summerfield and other things that she does. So there we go. So some plans for the future. We've got more lined up for you. There's plenty to talk about. So there you go. So in the meantime, head to our YouTube, head to our TikTok, and tune into this podcast on any platform that you see fit in listening. Okay, we're going to take another break here, and then we're going to get to the main story. Today, we're going to talk to Jonathan Brace, who is running a show called That's Ace. One of my favorite characters, one of my favorite people, Sophie Aldred. So stay tuned.
The Vervoids are probably the best dirty joke in Doctor Who.
They're hermaphroditic plants.
A lot of plants are.
So there you go. It's based on science.
No, they'll ship anything.
There are probably 11 and handle shippers out there. You just have to drill a hole where his mouth is, and you're all set.
You know he needs the room. I've seen it in pictures.
I'm not saying you're not a fan. I'm saying you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Doctor Who gives a drunken Doctor Who podcast for the end times.
You are invited on an adventure across all of time and space, in a completely random order. It's the Police Box in the Junkyard podcast. Jump in the TARDIS with your hosts,
Eric Gulbranson,
Asad Kheshki,
and
Matthew Kressel.
Explore Doctor Who TV stories, audio adventures, and books, both novels and non-fiction. The Police Box in the Junkyard podcast. It's the entire Whoniverse on shuffle. The Police Box in the Junkyard podcast is a member of the Direction Point Network and is available about once a month wherever you find your podcasts. You are listening to the Doctor Who Collectors podcast. Keep collecting.
Up there is the scanner, those are the doors, that is a chair with a panda on it. Sheer poetry, dear boy.
And now it's time for our main story on the Doctor Who Collectors podcast. Today we're talking with Jonathon Brace, who runs a show called That's Ace, and we're going to talk about that today. So please welcome to my show, Jonathon. How you doing?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. It's wonderful to have you. Of course, this podcast, we talk about all kinds of things in the world of Doctor Who these days, as we are in the Wilderness Years 2.0, as we've been kind of there. But for listeners who may not know your work, and that could include folks here in the United States, tell us about That's Ace and how did the show begin?
Yeah, of course. So That's Ace is a theatre show that is going to the Edinburgh Fringe this year and in the UK. Which is about a young girl called Ace, who has called herself Ace after Sophie Aldred's wonderful Seventh Doctor companion. And the show is sort of her figuring herself out, figuring her sexuality out. She's been invited clubbing by this girl from school, and so she goes clubbing, but has never been before. So she turns up 15 minutes before they open, because to her on time is late. And then spends the whole time talking to the audience, trying to figure out what her feelings are. But the whole show is very much through the lens of her love of Doctor Who. She equates so many things that happen in her life through episodes she's seen of Doctor Who. She grew up watching DVDs in the shed with her dad, so it's very much kind of showing the effect that Doctor Who has on people and the love people have for the show and how it changes people's lives and affects people's lives in the world, and how they interact with other people, which I think, especially as you say, Wilderness Years 2.0, yes. Here we go again. I think it's been weirdly well timed to have a show that is like, let's see the effect Doctor Who has, even when it's not on TV, even when we don't know what's coming next. There's such a history and a back catalogue and so much love and stories that will go on affecting people's lives, whoever picks up that tender.
I can't agree more, because that's what made us survive the Wilderness Years, the original time. And, when I lived through that and more fan-made stuff came out, and I think this is where it needs to be. More fan. There was a movie called Indoctrinated that came out not long ago. There was several documentaries that are being done about the show now, coming out with the show not on the air. And of course, what a great inspiration. I happen to know Sophie very well. She and I were guests at a show once, and she's just such the gracious person I've ever met. So I'm sure she would love the show if she could get there. So what was it exactly about Ace that just inspired to dedicate an entire show about her?
I think she's always been one of my favourite companions. Obviously, I sort of grew up with the new era of the show, and then dipped my toe. There was something called the Doctor Who Files, where you got sent a DVD every week. I never unsubscribed to that collection. I have all the DVDs they sent out in the post. So that was kind of my first dip of the toe into exploring classic Who and all the show that had come before. And I think Ace is a really interesting moment in the show where you sort of start to see almost the model or the prototype of what would go on to become the modern companion back in the 80s, with it sort of first starting to happen. And I adore her relationship with the Seventh Doctor. I love the Seventh Doctor. Big Sylvester McCoy fan. That man was born to be Doctor Who. He's incredible, and I think his relationship with Ace is so great that I love it. And then also within this show, it's a story about a young woman who doesn't have the best relationship with her mother, who sort of dreams of something more, is still figuring herself out. And it sort of started as like, oh yeah, maybe she likes Doctor Who, and then it became so, as I started lining up the parallels, it's so like integrally linked with the character in our show choosing her own name, not having that great relationship with her mother. It became like the two characters are so linked. And also, just I'm glad to hear that Sophie Aldred is a wonderful human being. She sent us a really lovely message the first time we did the show of like, you guys are going to do great. I hope it goes really well. So yeah, it's sort of all spiraled from there.
Yeah, and of course the parallels you mentioned of the life of Dorothy McShane, who basically had a huge falling out with her mother, only to realize later in an episode how, what the effect was, and how, and of course this insane story of how she got teleported to a space station, which is still amazing to me. But she reminds me a lot of, she's not the companion that screams. She's not Joe Grant. She's not Sarah Jane Smith. She is somebody who's more than willing to go face to face with an enemy with a bat and nothing more. And that's what's one of the books that I have is the That's Ace book with her with the bat on the cover.
Yes, yeah.
This is a wonderful, wonderful story. She I talked with her we had breakfast together one morning, and she just talked about her life, Sophie's life, as far as getting into the role of Ace, and her inspiration. Of course, her character was shaped by a man named Andrew Cartmel, who was the script editor for the McCoy era. So, basically, with that, how do you think Andrew Cartmel's shape of this character kind of transformed Doctor Who in that last season? Your own opinion.
Yeah, I think it became very much, they were doing like big character arcs with obviously this idea of like the Seventh Doctor manipulating Ace in a way and trying to help Ace grow, and obviously all the ways her family history and her backstory were tied into the stories that were coming from Doctor Who. I think certainly if you go back to, as you're saying, like Joe Grant and Sarah Jane Smith, they have backstories and they are people, but they're there in the episode and they're there enjoying the stories of the episode. It felt, certainly watching through as a younger person, as a modern fan, going back and watching it, it was like, oh, this you couldn't take Ace out of those stories. Right. Because she's so inexplicably linked with Fenric and with Ghostlight and that specific place and everything that's happening around her. It felt like a really fertile ground that Andrew Cartmel was treading, to be how do we weave the companion in? How do we make the companion not someone who's just reacting to the plot, someone who's integral to that plot, kicking the plot, challenging the Doctor? How is the Doctor challenging them? And I think that's what makes that relationship so sparky and so interesting.
I agree. Do you have a favorite Ace story?
I've always got a soft spot for Remembrance of the Daleks. I think it's obviously a fabulous story. I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast knows that. The rice pudding line, seeing it float for what would have been the first time. But I love the Curse of Fenric. I think the Curse of Fenric is a beautiful story, so tied into Ace herself as a character. just think, oh, it's such a good story. So I'd have to say The Curse of Fenric, but with a shout out to Daleks.
I agree. Curse of Fenric, it's a dark story. And it's something that Doctor Who fans at the time, when it came out, were not exactly entirely invested in it because it was so different from what they had just, the greatest show in the galaxy had just, come on this previous season, which was it was dark, but also full of fun. And the Doctor got to do his little act and his bits. And I thought, okay, this took a dark turn, but it turned Ace. At the first time you hear Ace tell the Doctor, "I'm not a little girl, and I'm gonna take care of this," and that reminds me a lot of future companions. You go into like Bill with Peter Capaldi, willing to sacrifice her life to the monks, or Billy Piper standing up to the Daleks, stuff like that. It's really quite a blueprint for what Stephen Moffat did in the new series. And in fact, I just listened to a podcast with Stephen Moffat and Peter Purvis talking about how he shaped things. And he was shaped from the William Hartnell era, which was a little different. You didn't have, you had some screaming companions, but you had characters like Steve, like Sarah Kingdom, who was a soldier. You had characters who weren't afraid to do things. And then, of course, Jamie and the second Doctor, not afraid to, take on stuff. He was a warrior, that kind of thing. So that's great. My favorite Ace story is still The Greatest Show in the Galaxy. I mentioned that one. That was
yes.
that was a good one as well. Well written, especially as a collector, I'm still trying to find that book on how to juggle that was hanging from the TARDIS in the beginning.
Yes.
And that particular cover, and of course nobody can't find it anywhere. But it was just such an amazing story. And it was a good one to end that season on as they prepared for the next season, not knowing that it was going to be the final season. Nobody knew that they were going to cancel it. So, so basically going into the entire world of Ace, and I don't know if your experience includes the New Adventures at all, the books?
Not so much.
All right, we will exclude that because Ace takes a completely different turn in the books. But which Ace moment do you think best defines her character? Is there a particular moment, scene, or episode where her character just kind of pops off the screen and tells you that's Ace?
That's such a good question. I think the one that, for the iconography of the show, it's the baseball bat and the Dalek. That's referenced in our theatre show as well. That's, if someone puts a blindfold on you and says Ace from Doctor Who, I think 85% of people are imagining that image and that iconography. I think there's a really, I think it's Curse of Fenric, I'm pretty sure. Going back to that really beautiful moment where she's holding the baby, who she then realizes goes on to become obviously her mum in that story. And I think it's such a, I think going back to everything I'd said about like weaving the companion in, I think that's such a beautiful moment of taking what we know about the character and challenging the character in that moment. And I think there's something very subtle and clever in Sophie's performance in that moment that I think just pops out and hits you in a place that you're not necessarily expecting to be hit in that quieter moment.
Absolutely. And fast forward to The Power of the Doctor, where she opens a panel and takes out her jacket, her backpack, and her bat, and puts it on as a mature woman going after Daleks, knowing that she's never lost it. And even has that conversation with the hologram, which I thought was brilliant, by the way, the Sylvester McCoy coming back in and talking and telling her we're good. Because just to kind of glaze over the New Adventures, they have a falling out in the books. And so there is a reckoning that, so they have the arc, because they include those books in the canon. But it was such an amazing moment for me to see her, she's in a pinstripe suit in the beginning, but then she gets that jacket on and she becomes Ace again. And it's almost like her superpower. And when I got to ask her about that, she said, I said, do you wear that jacket much? And she goes, no, the jacket belongs to the BBC. We borrow it. and she said she's seen fan jackets that look so much better. But it's one of those, I think in Doctor Who, it's one of the most iconic costumes. I mean, other than Sarah Jane's Andy Panda jumper, that one kind of comes out as the costume for a companion, especially when she puts it back on 30 years later, which I think is amazing.
I think that's brilliant. Yeah. Have you seen the Tales of the TARDIS little shorts that they did? Obviously it's Curse of Fenric that they do, I think. But her and Sylvester having that little stuff at the start. And I remember watching it and I was like, oh yeah, this is really nice. And then when it cuts back to them at the end and they're just having fun together and playing the spoons.
Yes.
It felt like such a beautiful, we've had Power of the Doctor, we've seen them interact again. It's nice to see them in the memory TARDIS, just having fun. And playing the spoons and laughing.
I've seen them in real life too, because I've been to many shows with both of them, and they are both like close friends. Because I remember I was lucky to have some of my collection photos appear on the season 25 Blu-ray, so I was excited to get a copy in advance. So I was one of the few people in the United States that had one, and I brought it to the convention to have him sign it, and of course he hadn't seen it yet. So he goes to Sophie. Sophie, is the escape room in this one? I said, I think so. Let me take a look. So it was it turned into this whole thing with this Blu-ray set that no one, and everybody's like, where'd you get that? I said, well, I'm in it. Oh, how'd you get in there? I'm like, I don't know. That was a long story. I told it. I got an email from a friend of mine overseas, David J. Howe, who said, hey, do you own all the Spirit of Light stuff from the 80s? I said, yes, I do. I said, could you send us some high quality photographs? We want to use it in the Blu-ray. I said, what Blu-ray? And then I heard nothing until I got that. I'm like, oh, that Blu-ray.
That one.
And it's one of my favorite seasons, season 25. That's I believe that is the Dalek one. Yeah, that's
yes, I think so.
It's in reach here. Hang on. I'm going to unplug myself here. But that's this one here.
Yes.
So yeah, it was, and Sophie and Sylvester signed the top, but this is Remembrance of the Daleks, Happiness Patrol. This is the season, just to watch those two interact, and of course seeing them on stage together, and some of the projects they've done other projects together. I don't know if you've ever seen the Professor and Ace videos that were done.
Yes.
Yeah, and so they did a lot together, and they really Sylvester saved her life once on set, Battlefield. So there was a lot of connection between the two of them. And so does your character have any kind of in the show itself any kind of reference to the Seventh Doctor?
So she talks a lot about watching that era of the show. I think there's not like a specific reference to the Seventh Doctor, but I think the way she discovered Doctor Who was by her dad's a big fan, sitting down in the shed, like with their little treats, watching classic Who on this little television that they've put away in the shed because the mum isn't a fan. So the dad's like, I'm going to make my little nerd shed and I'm going to bring my daughter in with me. So I think we're sort of playing with the parallel of like the almost like teacher-student relationship and kind of paralleling that with Ace and her dad being the person who is bringing her this world and showing her this fantastical new world. The world he's showing her just happens to be Doctor Who.
And that's amazing, because that's my story. Because in 1975, my mom called me in the room and said, hey, watch this with me. And it was Doctor Who. It was the first episode ever shown in my city here in the United States. The Mutants Part 1 in September 1975. I was 6 years old. And I said, I never missed an episode after that. And it was just, and of course it turned me into not just a collector, but I owned a store. I inadvertently started a store that now, when I sold it, is now a multi-million-dollar company. So I'm like, wow, hey. Wow. And it inspired me to do this show 7 years ago and connect with the people that I've met over the years, including some Doctor Who actors and other folks who have written books and things like that. And so it's like, yeah, our parents are very important with that. And especially my dad did not care for it at all, but my mom loved the show. And that was something that's important. So that makes a lot of sense. Of course, since this is the Doctor Who Collectors podcast, I've got to ask, do you have any Doctor Who memorabilia of your own?
I have a little bit of. I have some of the all at home. I have a lot of like the figures that were coming out sort of around the 50th anniversary and the early stuff. I've got somewhere. I found it in a charity shop, and I remember being like, "I want to get it," and my mum was like, "But we can't play it." But I've got a VHS copy of Spearhead from Space.
Oh yeah.
Pertwee's first story, and because I saw it and I was like, what's that doing here? I've got to get that. And but we don't have a VHS player. You can't play it. And I'm like, no, but that's so cool.
Yes. I've got a Betamax tape. I have no way of playing that. But it's but actually, if you go further in the charity shop, you might find a VHS player somewhere. And
yeah, exactly.
There's nothing like playing those. I still have one that works, and every once in a while I'll pop in because like Tomb of the Cybermen went straight to video in the 90s, and I could not wait to get home from college to watch it with my brother, and we just sat in the room and just glued the TV for 90 minutes while this lost story came to life for us. And I read the Target book 8 times, but those VHSs, I have quite a few. They're somewhere down here, but it's really quite something when you and then of course I'm always jealous of your charity shops in England because there's a lot of Doctor Who over there. There's not a lot over here because it didn't get here until the 80s, but that's cool. Let's see. Now back to the show. That's Ace. So. Besides the impact of the companion, what else went into what other main topics, without giving away too much, what topics are covered in the show that kind of shape the plot without revealing too much? Because I don't want people to be spoiled here.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Well, it's very much sort of like a coming of age story of a young person, and I think something that we found that was really lovely was she. Is essentially trying to decide whether her feelings for her friend are like, I love you as a friend or I love you in a romantic way and I want more than that. And she's practicing these two speeches to deliver to Sasha. And she does them both to the audience. She's like, I can't decide, but I've practiced both of them. And I know I sort of found it as writing it. She delivers this love speech and then she delivers a friend speech. And a lot of the first half of that speech is sort of talking about the reason she found a home with Doctor Who is like the Doctor's traveling with his friends because he's seen everything. He's seen so many things, but he wants to take the people who are special to him and see it through their eyes. And I think that's a theme that runs throughout the play of the connections we make, however, the importance of friendship, the importance of just love, whether that's parental love, whether that's romantic love, whether that's sexual love, whether that's just platonic, soulmate kind of love, of the connections we make and the people that we have in our lives. And it was completely, I just started the show. I was like, yeah, she's a Doctor Who fan. She loves Doctor Who. And then by the end of the show, I was like, yeah, Doctor Who, I guess, is a show about friendship, is a show about connection and sharing experiences. And I think that's part of the reason why it spawned such a big fan base who can now connect and share experiences together.
That's wonderful. What has surprised you most about the Ace fan community after presenting?
I think, I don't know if it's we've had I think a couple of people turn up in their cosplay jackets, which I don't know if that surprised me, because as I was writing it, I was like, that would be, if someone turned up in cosplay, would be amazing. And then a couple of people did it, and I was like, I'm so thankful for you. Thank you so much. That means so much that you've done that. But it's been really lovely to connect. I know we've been putting the show out on like social media and doing a lot of marketing. Just like the amount of love there is out there, I think has been amazing. I think certainly there's probably areas of the Doctor Who fandom, or from someone who's not in it, they might have an impression of like, oh, you're always just fighting on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now.
Right.
But I think like there's parts of that to life. Everyone, somewhere in life, someone is having an argument about something. But really, if you boil it down and you're putting yourself out there, there's so much love and support in that community, which has been brilliant to sort of dip our toes in with the show and feel that love, and hopefully be able to spread that love and that community to the people who are able to come see the show.
That's wonderful. Any plans to bring the show over to the United States?
Hopefully. We want to make Fringe as successful as possible, and then hopefully we can bring the show to even more people, whether that's physically coming to the US or to Europe, or if we do like a month run somewhere, try and filming a pro shot of it and making a digital version available around the world. We currently don't have concrete plans, but it's in my brain as something I really want to do. So fingers crossed we are able to do that.
Because I'm just thinking on the top of my head, Galley 1 in Los Angeles or Chicago TARDIS in Lombard, we both have big stages, and they've brought shows to those venues in the past. And I think that one would resonate well. There's a lot of Ace fans here in this country. I know that from just being with Sophie for a weekend, the total number of people that showed up just to see her, which surprised her a little, because she says, well, I'm not a doctor. I was only on for 3 seasons. I'm not Fraser Hines, who, goes everywhere and gets the love he's earned. I said, no, people do, they do show up in cosplay. They do show up because they connect with that. And that's exactly what your show is doing, is showing how this connected to this character and how she's exploring her life and what her life is based on, where she's going, what she's feeling. And that's how every Doctor Who fan kind of evolves, from the first episode, whether you love it or I don't like this one, let's try another one. My own one of my own stories is I watched Doctor Who since the 70s, and it started with John Pertwee, and then one day our station showed him out of order. So the next day we saw Underworld. And I was like, wait, what happened here? That's not the guy I saw last week. And then they showed Underworld, and then the week later they showed Giant Robot. And we saw the opening and saw the regeneration. I'm like, it was like, okay, I'm good. It was all one of those. It's like, I almost turned it off because I thought, this isn't my guy. But later growing to love Tom Baker as well as John Pertwee, and shaking hands with Tom Baker was one of the biggest moments of my life. So it was just he was here in Chicago in '84, but just an amazing thing. So so that's Ace. When the run has gone, what's next? Do you have any plans for the next step?
So we don't have anything concrete. I think, as I said, we'd love to transfer and do a bigger run here in the UK to a bigger theatre, and find some way of sharing it with more people. I think because the show's about asexuality, which often isn't featured in media at all.
Right.
Unless you're reading Lung Barrow and the Looms and all that stuff from the Wonderful Wilderness era. But so many like Doctor Who fans who can relate to the show. I'm hoping that, as I say, we're able to bring the show to more people. Or, if there's any TV producers listening, I think it would make a great 6-part TV show. But just a way of sharing it with more people. I think whether that's through a pro shot, whether that's through touring it around the world, whether that's through a TV show, just being able to share this story and be part of Wilderness too,
I think that would be great.
A joy.
Yeah. I would watch that, and I think you have a good shot because the character Ace, I believe, is owned by Andrew Cartmel, so you could get him to sign on and not have to worry. As long as you don't mention the Doctor or Doctor Who, you're good, because the BBC is real protective. But I think that would be a great idea. I'm always saying, hey, why don't we have another TV show? Another Land of Air and Sea still hasn't aired in the United States, by the way.
I know,
Disney
yeah.
Plus has basically put it on the back burner, but I'm like, we could use some more of that during this time, because I remember, like I said, the Wilderness Years in 1989 when the show wasn't renewed, and then we got that little blip in '96 with the movie, and then nothing. And then Big Finish in '99, that was great.
Yeah.
And then the little, rumors, this is pre-internet, so it's, all the rumors of, oh, hey, something's in the works, and then 2005 we get it again, and I think we're going to be fine during the Wilderness Years. So tell me, where can my listeners find information about your show and connect with you online?
Yeah, of course. So we have an Instagram and the TikTok. I think it's that's ace_the play on Instagram, and that's ace_Ed Fringe on TikTok. I also have social media that's all boy behind the beard. For those just listening to it, I have a beard, and behind that, I have a baby face. So boy behind the beard is my handle.
I will verify the beard. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, listeners, we'll have all those links on the website beneath the description of the show, so you can find That's Ace. So, again, my listeners, my guest is Jonathon Brace. He is could I say the creator, producer, director? Are you all those things?
Yeah, writer, director, creator.
Yeah, head of popcorn, all that stuff. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
of a
Head
show.
of popcorn is my favorite title.
Oh, head of popcorn. There you go. That's Ace. Thank you for being on the show today. I appreciate you talking with us. And my listeners here, stay tuned for the most outrageous offer.
We are going on a journey, a very long journey, through the world of the Target novelizations in publication order. Every week, we are looking at a new book, talking about Terrence Dicks, Malcolm Hulk, and all our Doctor Who novelization friends. Whatever you do, keep turning the pages. This is Jason Miller of the Doctor Who Literature Podcast, a member of the Direction Point Podcast Network, and you are listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. Keep collecting.
Hello, fellow time travelers, and welcome to the Doctor Who Target Book Club podcast, the only podcast to discuss, in story order, all the Doctor Who novelizations. My name is Tony Whitt, and every 2 weeks or so, I'm joined by a 2 to 3 person discussion panel, including our so-called expert who's been a Who fan since 1979. That would be me. We also get the views of intermediate, casual, and novice fans who either have never seen the show or who have never read these books until these podcasts, including
Dalton Hughes
and
Allison Seyfried.
You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you find good podcasts, or even ones like ours. You're listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast on the Direction Point Podcast Network. Keep collecting.
All my travellings throughout the universe, I have battled against evil, against power-mad conspirators. I should have stayed here. The oldest civilization. Decadent, degenerate, and rotten to the core. Power-mad conspirators, Daleks, Sontarans, Cybermen. They're still in the nursery compared to us. 10 million years of absolute power. That's what it takes to be really corrupt.
And now it's time for the most outrageous offer. The most outrageous offer is a Doctor Who item or Doctor Who related item that appears to be priced way beyond it should be. Despite the collectability, we are now looking into other items that may be just way too high. And I would say, if in that case, don't buy it, wait till it comes down, because eventually the price will come down. If it doesn't sell and they really want to move it, they will do it. Today we're talking about a book by Adam Hargreaves. This is called Doctor Second. This was a child's mashup of Doctor Who. These books were a lot of fun, published by Penguin Young Readers. This was published, it looks like in 2017. And here is the most outrageous one. Doctor Second, it looks like the book is in condition gut, because it's a German seller. Bush Service Antiquariat Lars Lutzer in Wahlstatt, Germany. And that was probably the worst German I've ever done. Anyhow, he's asking in US dollars for $1,878.81 plus a $45 shipping charge. Got to remember that import tariff fee that applies, and that's absolutely crazy. We did a little digging and we found it for $5.93 from a book in England. We also found it for $4.82, and anywhere in between. So I would say if you really want this book, and we're going to go ahead and order one of these somewhere and get it for a little less. Especially when the other books, Dr. First, Dr. Third, Dr. Fourth, Dr. Fourth is starting at $1.71. So these books are definitely not worth the money. It's just crazy. And we'll be calling out those outrageous offers even more because you, the listener, have been telling me how important that is to you. So thank you. Anyway, thanks for listening. That concludes the most outrageous offer. You'll find links and screenshots on our website under this episode because sometimes these offers disappear when the episode airs. I wonder why. You can't see me, but I'm scratching. I'm kind of doing that imaginary beard pull of humbly wondering why something is. I don't even have a beard. So there we go. Anyway, that wraps up the most outrageous offer, and that wraps up this edition of the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank my guest today, Mr. Jonathon Brace, who is running a very successful run of a show called That's Ace. So I think if you're in the UK, try to get tickets to that show. I think that would be an amazing thing to help you through our wilderness years. All right, stay tuned for our next episode, which will be out hopefully soon. And until then, keep collecting.
A Doctor Who Podcast Network.